So into the SK Arena steps Charles Shinima, 33 years of age, from Namibia. Wonderfully talented boxer. Brings to the ring a 21-fight professional record, 19 wins, just 2 losses, 13 of those 19 wins coming inside the distance for a 68% KO ratio. A really skillful operator, former WBO welterweight champion of all Africa, the Namibian super welterweight champion back in 2019. Here he is up into the ring for his IBA.PRO debut in a contest made at 140 pounds. Now his opponent is Khariton Agrba, and this man, a really talented operator, no stranger to competing on the IBA.PRO stage. We've seen him plenty of times before, including in a torrid victory in Sochi against Jose Miguel Borrego, who is another familiar face on IBA Champions Night and Pro Night stages. But in his last outing, this man ran onto a crunching, destructive left hook while seeking to throw a counter right uppercut, and was knocked out spectacularly in the second round of a contest scheduled for 12 at the hands of the Argentinian puncher, the rugged Ruben Nestor Neri Munoz. So coming back for defeat for the first time, Spence.
Рост 170 сантиметров, вес 63,5 килограмма. Профессиональный рекорд 19 побед, включая 13 побед нокаутом при 2 поражениях. Ladies and gentlemen, he's 33 years old, standing 170 centimeters tall, weighing in at 63.5 kilograms. His professional record, 19 victories, including 13 big wins coming by way of knockout and 2 defeats. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Windhoek, Namibia, here is Charles Supershine Shinima. Его соперник в золотом углу. Боксеру 29 лет, его рост 175 сантиметров, вес 63,5 килограмма. Профессиональный рекорд 15 побед, включая 9 побед нокаутом и только 1 поражение. Дамы и господа, он чемпион мира IBA, чемпион IBF European и чемпион WBA Continental. Из Санкт-Петербурга, Россия, приветствуйте, Khariton Agrba! Рефери поединка Алексей Козлов.
Gentlemen, touch gloves, listen to my commands. Good luck.
So referee Mr. Alexei Kozlov with the final instructions. A quick look at the tail of the tape between these two talented, experienced fighters, each of them weighing in comfortably, bang on the 63.5 kilogram or 140 pound limit. Contest between two skillful operators. The man wearing the black trunks trimmed with gold is Charles Shinima. 21 fights in his professional career. Got back on the winning track after dropping what was widely regarded as a controversial decision when traveling to South Africa. This is just his 3rd fight outside of his native Namibia. Charles Shinima, former national champion at super welterweight. Here he is facing off against Khariton Agrba. Agrba, 16 fights in his pro career, undefeated on the IBA.PRO stage, including claiming the IBA professional world title. But crucially, Spencer, will he have been able to put the demons in his mind to rest, exercise them, get them out of his system after walking onto a ruinous counter left hook while he was seeking to throw a southpaw uppercut on the inside. Southpaw counter left uppercut is what he was looking to launch. A left hook came over the top and it was all she wrote. What type of demons could be playing in his mind now as he's back in the ring for the first time since suffering that stoppage back in July?
Yep, $1 million question. Can Agrba come back from that? It does scar some fighters. They don't get over that. You know, they change their style. They become a little gun shy. And we're going to find that out. Only Agrba knows that right now. You know, we can all speculate on how bad that knockout was, how he'll come back from it. Some fighters come back and they're absolutely fine. We're going to find out about Agrba now, because one thing I can tell you is this kid would have had to go soul searching for sure. He's keeping a nice tight defense out of the southpaw style, but Shinima will recognize that knockout last time out, and he'll want to exploit that, try and build on that.
And again, maybe early on is the time to test it. Try and check that chin, see how he's feeling physically, psychologically. Because to your point, Spence, maybe even Agrba doesn't know until he gets clocked again and figures and sees how he's going to respond.
Yep, that's exactly right, Ron, because right now, for Shinima, you go, right, let's just build on that. Don't let him get any confidence. Don't let him grow into this. You know, this is a good technical fighter that if he gets into a rhythm, he's difficult to beat. He's coming off that knockout. Let's open that box. You know, let's redo that. Let's build on that. And that's what Shinima will need to do. Show this guy no respect.
To your point, Spence, a lot of fighters aren't the same. Thinking of some notable ones who have been the same when suffering ruinous knockouts. And that's not to over-egg things, but I do urge you to go and dig out the fight between Agrba and Ruben Nestor Neri Munoz, because it was a devastating finish. Roberto Duran came back after being iced by Tommy Hearns, got back to his Hall of Fame level once again. Manny Pacquiao, after he was iced in the final of his 4 fights against Juan Manuel Marquez, got back from the face-first knockout and resumed his Hall of Fame career once again. But for some fighters, Spence, we can say they're never the same. We're going to find out tonight how Agrba responds after getting back into the ropes arena after such a devastating KO defeat last time out.
Absolutely. We remember the first time Olympic champion Audley Harrison got knocked out by Michael Sprott as well. He was never the same. He went gun shy. Every time he boxed, he looked like a rabbit in the headlights. It can have that effect. Agrba will be very, very pleased that he got through that first round. And that will be a confidence booster for him for sure. But Shinima will want to build on this now. He's going to have to pick up the pace somewhat, because Agrba was allowed to control things maybe in that opening round.
So Shinima, wearing the black trunks trimmed with gold, his 2 losses have come when fighting outside of his homeland, and both of them in rather unusual circumstances. He picked up a horrific cut when fighting in Albania in March of last year. Cut in the first round. It looked to be from an accidental clash of heads from my perspective, and eventually that contest, that injury, caused the fight to be stopped at the end of the 4th round in a contest scheduled for 6. He didn't go to the scorecards, and so that was how his first loss was inflicted. And then he traveled to South Africa, Kempton Park, where he faced off against Brandon Tice for the vacant WBC Africa Junior middleweight title, and it was, well, again, I urge you to dig out the fight and take a look. He's convinced that he was a victim of home cooking. He's the away fighter here tonight, and so he said that promised all his fans, because he is a popular figure in the Namibian capital of Windhoek and beyond throughout the Southern African nation. He said that he's learned from that, and he won't want to let it go to such a tight verdict once again. But he's being rather circumspect so far as he seeks to play counterpuncher against the southpaw Agrba.
Yeah, you can't afford to play counterpuncher against the southpaw. Coming off a knockout defeat, you have to take that play away from him, take control, punches in bunches, close the gap and let the shots go, because Agrba is one of those guys that's technically sound, as you're seeing here. That was a nice uppercut from Shinima. That was a shot that he needs to try and build on, but Agrba, as I say, is technically very sound. He likes to get into a rhythm, and every second that ticks by here, he's gaining a little bit more confidence back. You've got to try and take that away from him. And Charles, Shinima is not really doing that yet.
So inside the final minute of this round, it's Shinima on the front foot, possesses a beautiful left jab. Agrba circumnavigating the ring, takes a good right cross to the body. Oh, that's a nice right uppercut through the middle from Shinima. Then went in search of the right cross against the southpaw. Thrusting jab to the body twice in quick succession from Agrba. Then tucking up behind high-held gloves. boxing well, keeping his composure, but it's a good thing that he shot out the punches when he did, because prior to that, you could say that he had a little bit of a skittish quality about his boxing as he's skating around the outside of the boxing ring. And if you're going to box like that, which is a skill in itself, sometimes you've got to plant your feet, hold your ground, and back up your opponent, because the judges can sense or perceive that as you're trying to nick the contest rather than box your way to a victory.
Yeah, and that was a good last 30 seconds there from Shinima, who really upped the ante, didn't he? I think he must have heard us here at ringside, and he heard that there was no sense of urgency. He was giving Agrba too much space, and Shinima actually picked it up with that last 30 seconds to go. Shot selection was good. That right hand through the middle, which is the key shot against the southpaw. He landed it. I love the uppercut on the inside as well. Maybe done enough to win that round. Agrba was on the move a lot more. He was being forced to work at a pace maybe he didn't want to work at. And Shinima done the right stuff there, applying the pressure. That's exactly what he needs to do. So no one really got a foothold on this contest so far. Action has been quite close, both guys feeling each other out, but let's just see now if Shinima can build on that and pick up the pace here in round 3.
So Khariton Agrba onto the front foot to begin this third round out of that southpaw stance, and perhaps his coach has told him what we sensed in the closing stages of the second, where he was skating around the perimeter of the ring. Let's see what Charles Shinima's like when he's placed on the back foot, and Agrba well capable of that. Wonderful right hook to the body out of that southpaw stance. But to your point, Spence, before Shinima got active, Agrba will have been processing all of this information just to get a feel of Shinima. And Shinima, has he let that moment pass where doubts were perhaps bedeviling the mind of Khariton Agrba after that knockout defeat last time out? Shinima going through the gears, working the body beautifully, particularly behind that left hand, which is sinking beneath the right elbow of Agrba, and keeping the attack going, keeping composed in the pocket. Beautiful movement to slip and slide by dipping at the knees and bending at the waist from Agrba, making a lot of these shots miss as he momentarily attacks the half cover guard and comes back with a beautiful right hook to the body of his own beneath the left elbow of Shinima.
Yep, he needed that, Agrba, but I think tactically he's got it wrong by trying to push himself forward, because that's where Shinima likes to be. He likes to be in the pocket. That's where he gets off. He's technically not as good as Agrba, and Agrba needs to use those technical advantages to his ability. Keep it behind the southpaw jab, put the shots go, don't sit there, don't get too greedy. And for me, by pushing forward, that may be just playing into the hands of Shinima, who likes it rough, who likes it tough. And there's that right hand through the middle from Shinima. This is heating up this contest.
Shinima's turned southpaw now, so it's an all left-handed affair just beyond the halfway stage of this third round. Reaching for the southpaw right, but not finding the range is Agrba. 4 right jabs flicked out by Shinima, and then looking for the right-left. Agrba, wonderfully decorated boxer, 2-time national championship silver medalist in the Russian vest in 2017 and 2018, and they are very hard to come by, given how deep boxing runs in Russia. 2019 European Games silver medalist, they lost to Great Britain's Pat McCormack in the gold medal bout. Pat McCormack, of course, went on to take Olympic silver the following year, or the following Olympics, in the delayed games of 2021, and is currently an undefeated pro, but he was denied the #1 spot in the Russian vest by the peerless Andrei Zonkovoy, the 2019 World Championship gold medalist and the Olympic bronze medalist in London and Tokyo. But that's a measure of Khariton Agrba's credentials and the schooling that he brings to the professional rank.
Yep, and that's what he needs to stick to in the professional ranks, using and executing those boxing skills out of that southpaw stance as he tries to push forward and take the fight away from Shinima. Shinima throwing a good right hand to the body. Another close round there, isn't it? Like, what do you go for? What do you like? Agrba changed tactics there, went on the front foot, but he was, to his credit, getting success there as well. I think that Shinima really should have tried to exploit that a little bit more by standing there and punching with him. Maybe he gave up too much ground there. It's going to be interesting to see how this fight unfolds. Moving forward here, very close fight. Agrba maybe just with his nose in front for me, but no means right Shinima off. Here's White, some of the action, just falling short with that 1-2. That's where he was boxing out of the orthodox stance, but he chose to switch southpaw midway through that round. But look at these shots there, lovely shots. The hook out the southpaw stance from Agrba, and the jab, the stiff jab through the middle. Shinima just falling short with his own work there.
So we move into the fourth round then. Khariton Agrba out to center ring, peering from behind gloves that are held high. Shinima back in the orthodox stance after spending a large portion of round number 3 as a southpaw. Going for the double jab, both chest and abdomen, looking for lead right hooks from behind those high-held gloves is Khariton Agrba, who's back in the ring 93 days after being knocked out cold, with posed questions about his mindset, but he appears to be sure-footed and confident as he goes about his work in the opening minute of this 4th round, Spencer.
Yep, very close contest we've got here. Looking to get back to ways after being sensationally knocked out in his last contest. How is it going to affect his confidence? Well, he seems to be dealing with it quite well. He's not shy to throw his punches. He's sitting in the pocket somewhat. But Shinima is a tough customer who is here to win as well. Agrba is the guy with the amateur pedigree, the amateur experience. He boxes well out of the southpaw stance, and he's now on the front foot, maybe gaining the confidence that has been missing since that knockout defeat.
So Shinima backed up to a corner and pinned there for perhaps the longest time in the entire contest, briefly back to the space of center ring before finding himself and his back on the strands once again. So just beyond the halfway stage as Agrba possesses such a wonderfully educated jab. Shinima possesses a sharp left jab of his own as he seeks to keep his foot on the outside of the lead right leg of Agrba, but look at him come forward behind the double jab left cross saw him inaccurate. In addition to his boxing activity, Agrba has a master's degree in economics from Rostov State University of Economics. So no doubt putting the prize funds available as each man scores with backhands, but the prize money available on IBA.PRO stages and the professional ranks as well to good use by utilizing that master's degree in economics.
Yeah, nice tight guard still from Agrba. He's boxing nicely, but the pressure coming from Shinima here, who switches to southpaw again himself there. He's trying to make things difficult for Agrba, who's pushing forward. Good right hook there from Agrba. And again with a hook, and that was good work. Shinima tries to respond but misses wildly.
10 seconds.
So closing 10 seconds. Alexei Kozlov reminding them, in addition to a 10-second clapper, both men landing stiff single shots in the closing stages of that round.
Yeah, close contest, as I say. It's going to be another one with these rounds being so close. Subjective scoring, what you like, what you're going for. Agrba has been boxing well, growing in confidence as these rounds go on, showing no signs of any sort of deterioration from that last knockout that he had, and this some of the action in that 4th round. And it was good. Shinima was having moments, but so was Agrba. Good counter hook there from Shinima as Agrba leads off with a cross of his own. But like I say, Ron, very close rounds. No one really grabbed this one by the scruff of the neck. It's going to be interesting to see you go here in round 5.
Remember this contest. Mention the fact that Charles Shinima's first defeat came in March of 2024 when he was on a retirement after picking up a cut on the road in Albania. Nerdia, the undefeated boxer at light middleweight, bounced back with a devastating knockout win in the Namibian capital, Win Hoek, against an overmatched boxer. He's confident back after starting his first, and that was against Stefanos Joshua. who was without a win in his pro career in his fourth fight, with a left hook and then hitting with the Julian Jackson celebration, pointing his thumbs down while his man was out on the canvas. Cold-blooded celebration and getting back to winning ways from Shinima, and it was that shot he just launched there, the left hook, which did the damage in such fashion as he got back to winning ways after suffering his first pro loss.
Yep, Shinima does carry that power, and he's looking for the knockout here as he stalks forward, trying to break through the nice defense of Agrba, who's moving constantly, switching, rotating from side to side. Oh, it's good work there from Agrba. Nice combination, solid, pinning his man in the corner.
Picking his spots, Agrba not getting greedy after his success. But again, you get the sense that you're watching a man growing. Oh, look at that for a ramrod right jab. But Shinima comes back and scores with his own straight punches. But Agrba, you get the impression that he's learning on the job here as he launches a roundhouse southpaw left and then keeps the attack going to make it a two-phase attack. And some of that cluster of punches in the second phase did get through the defenses of Shinima.
Yep, Shinima just boxing a little one-dimensional here. Needs to do something a little different against this slick Agrba, who's moving constantly from left to right, boxing out that southpaw stance, keeping his hands nice and tight. Movement's quite good from the waist as well. Shinima really needs to punch with him here and try and be a little bit more creative than he's being. Jab again there, just falling short from Agrba. There we see the 1-2, that was nice, and that's the difference in this contest now, that Agrba's getting off of his shots, that split second too much. And Shinima, for the first time, showing maybe signs of frustration.
Doing a really good job of scoring with these raiding attacks is Agrba. Shinima always in the contest as he scores with a good stab jab to the body. Closing seconds of this fifth round. Agrba scored with another thrusting jab to the body. Counter right hand not too far away from Shinima. Respectful tap exchange between the two. We're at the halfway stage of this contest, scheduled for 10.
Yep, very interesting contest. Agrba, as we can see here in the corner, taking the instructions. They look calm, they look happy with what's going on. Let's take a look at the action in that fifth round. Agrba, for me, doing the better work as he pins Shinima in the corner. Flurries of punches, nothing really landing, but it will definitely catch the judge's eyes in rounds that are going close, and you're looking for it to go which way you're going to go. There was a nice body shot went in there from Agrba, but Shinima come back with shots of his own. He's by no means out of this, Shinima, but what I will say is he needs to start doing something a little different. He has the capabilities. Let's see if he can implement them.
So into the second half of this contest we go. Agrba marching out purposely to the middle of the boxing ring. Now looking to sit down on his shots bench, leading off with that left cross out of the southpaw stance, following it up with the right hand lead. Excuse me, with the right jabs. Shinima is being kept occupied by that busy lead right stick that Agrba's thrusting out. There's a nice left-right combination scored by Shinima.
Yep, nice work by Shinima, and he needs it. He's got to push forward. Agrba, again, he's in a rhythm now. He's in a rhythm. Everything behind that southpaw jab. Shots are flowing after that. Shinima, by no means out of this. More than capable. But this needs to do something now slightly different. Not be allowed to be put on the back foot like he was there and hit with flurries of punches. This is where he needs to take the play away here from Agrba. Put him on his back foot. Set the traps. Let's see something a little different here.
Approaching the halfway stage of this round, and look at the dynamism in the boxing of Khariton Agrba now, using the space of the boxing ring, going walkabout on his own terms. Look at how he's beyond punching range, hands down just a little bit, and as he creeps across the canvas, getting back into range, breaks the standoff with a jab to the body. So Shinima back in the southpaw stance, flicking out a darting jab from his own belt line. But look at that altogether more authoritative jab, snapped out in double fashion to the body of Shinima, who then misses, who causes the next jab to miss by employing good head movement before coming back with a 1-2 of his own.
We have good boxing display from both guys here. The IQ is high for sure, but look at this here. That's the difference between these two at the moment. Agrba with those slight flurries, those slight bursts of flurries, sorry. And that's where the rounds are won and lost here. The range has been found by Agrba as well with that southpaw jab. And Shinima now, it's all for him to change this up. He has to do something, find something different, because the rounds are slipping away from him. Yes, they are close rounds, but they are slipping away with combinations like that.
Even when Shinima's back was to the ropes, Agrba still managed to change angles in front of him, because he started the combination in front of the man and finished it to his side. And Shinima, as Spencer Oliver has pointed out, is in this round. I just don't think he's done enough to win this round unless he does something dramatic and drastic in the closing 15 seconds or so. Pinned in the neutral corner on the far side of the ring from our commentary position. But it's Agrba who again has just settled into a groove the more we have gone into this contest, and Shinima perhaps being a little bit too passive, but then easier said than done to change that when you've got the presence and pressure of a man from Khariton Agrba standing just inches away from him.
That's the big problem, Ron, that when you've got someone like Agrba, who's a well-seasoned amateur that brings those skill sets into the professional ranks, out that southpaw style, not sitting still for a second, unpredictable as he throws those shots in bunches as well. It's very difficult for a fighter like Shinima, who's yet very capable, but likes a guy to sit in the pocket so he can get off with his shots, and he's just trying to figure that out. Easier said than done, trust me. These guys that can be very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Annoying, really. Peppering that southpaw jab, coming with the flurries, and then moving again. You just got to try and make them work when they don't want to work, so that you can get them to stay still in those later rounds. That's the game plan for Shinima. Does he want to draw this guy into a dogfight in the last quarter of the contest? Let's see.
Well, we mentioned the 3-round IBA boxing credential that Khariton Agrba brought into the professional ranks. He was very much a prospect who was heavily invested into. And when I say invested, as Spencer Oliver will tell you, that means you get the promotional backing, you get the matchmaking. He was being written up in Ring magazine from the moment he turned professional. And in his 9th contest, he had a terrific victory over the former world champion Julius Ndongo, former IBF super lightweight champion of the world, scoring a 3rd-round knockout in his 9th bout in 2022. So he was that guy with the backing, being built. But as you said, one lapse in concentration changed his trajectory. Not that he's no longer the guy that he was, but the game of snakes and ladders often the professional boxing business, and losses like that can really set back the trajectory that was being mapped out by the men and women in the Khariton Agrba business.
Absolutely, it's all about now the rebuilding process, going back to the gym, soul searching, and really seeing if that's the moulding of a fighter, because a loss is not the end of a fighter, it can be the making of a fighter, and we're going to find out about Agrba on that loss. Like Ron said, heavily backed, high hopes for him. Let's see now if that has given him the kick up the backside that was needed to develop him into a great fighter. Well, guess what? He's in against a capable fighter in Shinima here, and he's delivering so far. He's doing what he had to do. He's answering the questions, and that's what we needed answering.
And look at the variety that he's demonstrating, because comes into range behind high hands, counted on the way out by Shinima, but he's doing an outstanding job getting the better of these exchanges and showing good variety, boxing on the back foot, nice head movement as demonstrated there, relaxing those hands by putting them down by his waist when he's out of punching range, and then launching raiding attacks with quick-fisted flurries. And all of these little things, these examples of ring generalship, as Shinima pressing forwards behind that southpaw right jab, reaching for a left cross there, but it's taking the round with bursts of quality that Khariton Agrba is doing thus far from probably about the 3rd round on.
Yeah, Shinima was certainly into in the contest after 3 rounds, but is now finding himself falling round after round, and that's because of the movement from Agrba from side to side. He's confusing a guy and making him now look a little bit one-dimensional, Shinima. And this is another round that has been pretty similar to every round, really, from the 3rd round on, where he's dominating behind the jab. And that old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. This is down to Shinima now to change, because he's only got a couple of rounds to do it, and he's going to have to dig deep here.
So Charles Shinima is going to have to do something different, because he's almost falling into a trap of following Khariton Agrba around the boxing ring rather than cutting off the boxing ring. But Agrba is doing a wonderful job planting his feet when he chooses to, but sticking and moving just like he's demonstrated there, moving laterally to his right while scoring with that right jab.
Yeah, it's been a boxing masterclass, really, and there was a lot of questions about Agrba coming into this one. The guy that they were building up so much, had that fight, had that dog been knocked out of him? Well, the answer is no. He seems to have gone back. He's soul-searching, rebuilt himself in the gym. He's come out, and so far I say, he's been punch perfect.
Agrba onto the front foot to back Shinima into the corner. Again, Agrba on the front foot now, just seeking to turn up the tempo in the opening 30 seconds of this 8th round, letting his punches go at a higher tempo. Shinima recognizes that. Look at him respond with good variety. 2 chop salvo down to the body. Still very much in this contest is Charles Shinima. I just don't think he's doing enough to be winning the contest at this point. But he's got time to turn it around. But he's going to need to do something drastic in the final 2.5 rounds that remain.
Yeah, he certainly is one. He's going to need at least a couple of knockdowns for me to turn this one around. And I think he knows that now. There's an air of desperation around his work, or a sense of urgency for anyway. As he's looking for that opening, he's trying to draw Agrba on that front foot. So he's there in range and he can get off the shots of his own. It's going to be interesting if he can do that as he boxes Shinima now out of that southpaw stop. Lands the left cross there. That was nice. Can he build on it? Agrba fully focused. Looks nice and composed. And you just feel he's now really 2.5 rounds away from getting back to winning ways, but that could sound like not a lot. But trust me, 7.5 minutes of fighting, anything can happen as fatigue sets in, the physicals leave you, becomes the mental battle, and we're going to see all of that unfold in the next couple of rounds for sure, as Agrba again gets in control on that front foot.
So a minute remaining, and again, Charles Shinima continuing to compete, but look at that as he chose to punch with Agrba. It was Agrba who got the better of the exchange, and now working both head and body beautifully, doubling him over with those straight spearing shots to the body of the man from Namibia. And look at Shinima breathing through an open mouth. There's a swelling appearing around his right eye as well. You know, oh, that's a beautiful little left uppercut turned underneath on the inside out of the southpaw stand from Agrba, and snapping out that right jab with real accuracy. Been a torrid round, this one for Shinima. He's competed, but again, he's not doing enough, as now Agrba has turned orthodox. Now back in a southpaw stand, switching his feet as he walked in and thrusted out a right jab to the body and swiveling the head of Shinima with a quick-fisted cluster during that coming together.
Yeah, beautiful stuff this from Agrba, who's now oozing confidence. Shot selection's brilliant, and it's now Shinima who has to go soul-searching. He's the one in there now that is asking himself questions. It's a slow, ponderous walk back to the corner. And I'll tell you something, this is where the trainer really has to earn his money. All the hard work's been done in the gym. If there's been no stone unturned, that corner man now, it's not about feeling sorry for yourself, mate. This is about picking you up. Do you want this? That will be the questions that are being asked in the corner of Shinima. How much do you want this? Because this fight is slipping away from you, son. And this is the reason why some of the action there in that 7th round.
How accurate was that right hand in just being so disruptive when Shinima was thinking and setting to throw something, being flipped by quick thrusters like that.
Yeah, the accuracy has been on point tonight from Agrba.
Round 9.
Here we go, round number 9. 2 rounds to go. And it's going to be a tough couple of rounds, Ron, for Shinima for sure.
So Agrba stalking his man to begin the round. Right from the opening bell, Shinima being forced to the perimeter of the ring, and that's where Agrba spent a large portion of the first 2, maybe 2.5 rounds. But my goodness, as he's got to grips with the style and tendencies of Shinima, he has very much been the governor in terms of the tempo and territory at which this contest is being fought. It's been a very good display, and Shinima, as you'd expect from a man who was the national champion of the entire continent of Africa, knows his way around the ring. Khariton Agrba bringing his credentials to the fore, and has just slowly developed in belief and confidence as the contest has progressed. And in many respects, despite Shinima's best efforts, has pushed him to the periphery of this contest the more we have gone into it. But he's still in there competing, which means that he's still dangerous with a minute and change gone in the 9th round.
Yeah, absolutely. Shinima won't lose hope, that's for sure, because he will want to get something out of this contest. But I'll tell you what, Agrba could have been excused if he took an easier fight than this one for a comeback after a shocking knockout defeat. But he chose Shinima, who's a tough, very capable, winning fighter. And I tell you, he's delivering it. He's doing a great job. He's now on the front foot. He's switching from orthodox to southpaw. You know, that tells you this guy's in his comfort zone.
Back in his familiar southpaw stance now for a brief burst and cameo as an orthodox fighter. Not something I've seen him do too often in his previous contest. As the face of Charles Shinima continues to swell and deform before our very eyes, that's making breathing more difficult. That's why his mouth is wide open, adding to his issues, as well as having a razor-sharp Khariton Agrba seeking to get back to winning ways here tonight. But then Shinima will tell himself, if Ruben and Neri Munoz can do it, then maybe so can I do it. Because Agrba won the first round in what proved to be a brief night of action over 2 rounds, and there a couple of right-hand successes for Shinima, who, as you said, Spencer, will continue to have deep belief that he can find the winning shot he needs.
Yep, and that's all it is now. Deep belief that he can find something, salvage something here from a contest that started quite well for him, Shinima, but has slipped away from him round after round as Agrba, his confidence has built. We're seeing those silky skills that are taking him to this point so far in his career. It's been a solid performance from Agrba, and another round in the bank for the local man from Russia. Agrba with a 15-1 record. That sole defeat come in his last contest. We wondered what demons would be there, if there would be any demons there. We mentioned a couple of the fighters earlier who have suffered from demons, have never been able to get over them. You know, moving forward, it does happen to fighters, but not to this young man. Agrba has regrouped and round by round has rebuilt in many ways. And Shinima, who's a very capable fighter, has found himself on the end of a lot of punishment in this contest, and that's why those straight left hands through the middle, but more importantly, that ramrod jab he uses as a weapon as opposed to a rangefinder. That's the difference here.
So into the 10th and final round, that is what has been a really entertaining contest so far. Charles Shinima has gone the 12-round distance before. The last time he went 10 rounds, he was on the wrong end of what he felt was a hometown decision when he was outpointed by Brandon Tice in South Africa. He's going to need to finish this one inside the distance, surely, if he hopes to extend his winning streak after suffering that defeat 2 contests ago. so far, unless he is able to find that finish, it's going to be a case of Charles Shinima losing every time he steps out of his homeland of Namibia. But he's on the front foot here now, as intelligently Agrba just remaining cautious, never giving the impression that he's going to take out Shinima, because he's a magnificently conditioned fighter, filled with a deep reservoir of belief. And so he's just remaining cautious and not really engaging other than on his own terms here throughout the first minute of this final round.
Yep, can always be a dangerous spot to be in this, the final round, when you're boxing someone like Shinima, who only has 2 defeats out of his 21 contests. 13 of those have come inside the distance, so the kid can whack for sure. So Agrba doing the sensible thing, hands held high, moving around the perimeter of the ring as he has been doing the whole contest, but not getting too greedy, not sitting in the pocket, because he's only now 1 minute 25 seconds away from a landslide victory. As we've seen in the past, certain fighters like Cole Froch, who I mentioned, knocking out Jermaine Taylor after being behind in a contest like this one, found it from somewhere. Can Shinima replicate that? We're going to find out in the next minute.
And remember, that's what Big John Tate did, the late great John Tate, against Hercules Mike Weaver in Tennessee. John Tate, well on his way to winning in a contest that was scheduled for 15. Mike Weaver found something and took him out in front of his home fans for a dramatic turnaround in what proved to be the final round of what was then a 15-round affair. Agrba appears to be altogether too switched on as he lets a cluster of punches go, then steps back into range behind a right jab, and now he is looking to put on a little bit of a grandstand finish for the fans here, backing up Shinima. Shinima seeking a right uppercut twice off the ropes in the closing stages of this final round.
Yep, great finish here. Show-real finish in many ways from Kuzman, who's been punch perfect from the opening bell. We've seen the confidence grow as the rounds have been going on. Shinima has been very impressive, stalking forward, looking for the win, but just maybe not got the capabilities that were required against a class operator like Kuzman.
Khariton Agrba has boxed very well indeed on his return to the boxing ring. Just 93 days after being iced by a spectacular single left hook, and after being a little cagey and cautious and circumspect in the first couple of rounds, Khariton Agrba grew in confidence. Credit to Charles Shinima. His face was beginning to swell and disfigure as we went through the contest, but this man, Khariton Agrba, demonstrated his full repertoire at different junctures of that fight, Spencer. Switching orthodox, showing variety, changing angles on his man. I think it's going to be a unanimous point decision victory after he took the first couple rounds as a scouting mission, just seeing and feeling what Shinima had. He took advantage, perhaps take those first couple of rounds, but probably from around the third round onwards, you got the sense that Khariton Agrba found his groove and really did begin to show a wide range of the repertoire that he possesses as he seeks to rebuild and get back to the world title contention he was so close to before that setback some 93 days ago.
Yep, he was derailed and now very much back on track. Apologies, not Kuzman. Agrba was what I was talking about. I was looked down at my book just as we were speaking. Saw Kuzman hovering around there. But yeah, good performance by Agrba. It was punch perfect, wasn't it? With the demons that he had to fight. Trust me, guys, when I tell you this, when a fighter's been knocked out, it doesn't matter who you are, at what level you are, you have to go soul searching, you have to regroup, you have to deal with those demons on that ring walk, and you've got to take all that added pressure on your shoulders. When you're the guy that everyone's talking about, you go and get iced, and you've got to come back. There's a lot of pressure to take, and this young man, Agrba, has just done that. And he'd be very pleased with that performance. I thought it was a punch-perfect performance after a very cautious start, as you would expect. He got into a rhythm, he got into a groove. He stood there and traded with Shinima when he had to trade. Very, very impressive. And it's only a matter of time, and here we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the end of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Первый судья, George 1, 98-92. 98-92. Второй судья Джордж 2. 99-91. 99-91. И судья номер 3 Джордж 3. 97-93. 97-93. Таким образом, единогласным решением судей победу одержал. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision, Khariton Agrba, Russia.
So Khariton Agrba returns to winning ways with a unanimous point decision victory over Charles Shinima of Namibia. A very accomplished performance over the distance of 10 3-minute rounds, and perhaps a fair reflection of the action that took place, with scores returned of 98-92, 99-91. Might be a little bit wide, but I don't think there'll be too many complaints either way, and 90-93. But this part, Spencer, is where the whispers would have been rattling around the back of Khariton Agrba's mind. And Charles Mack did pose some questions in the opening round. I just wonder whether he perhaps rolled the dice a little bit more, fought with a little bit more abandon, just to see where Khariton Agrba was from a psychological and mentality point of view.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shinima will kick himself. Maybe he didn't apply the pressure the way that he should have applied the pressure. He did have his successes in bursts. He had his successes, nicked a couple of whilst doing that, allowed Agrba to slip into a rhythm, and that is the difficult thing to break with a fighter with the skill set as Agrba, who grew in confidence. And that was the other thing that he didn't need to do, allow this man to get that confidence back. He needed to jump on him early, showing no respect. And unfortunately for Shinima, that's what he done. Showed him the respect and allowed him to get into the fight. Great performance by Agrba. He'll be very pleased with that. Back to winning ways, back on track, which is the most important thing. And now for Shinima, he loses for the third time in a 22-fight career. Regroup time. See how he comes back.
That was the moment of confirmation. Khariton Agrba back on a winning track. Unanimous point decision victor. Dane skillful Charles Shinima of Namibia.